I sold technology for 30 years. One of those best jobs, pays well. They do pay a lot, but there was no joy, and I talk about it constantly, no satisfaction, but a fat paycheck, okay, commission. I wasn't prepared for the real world. I went to college and I still dilly-dallied and screwed around. And I just thought getting a job in business would solve all the problems. So I'm in corporate America and I'm starting to move up to, do well financially, but I'm bored to tears in my career. But from a first generation low income, a lot of people think that money is the answer to every problem in life, as we've all heard. But they don't understand, though. Do you want to work 40, 60, 80 hours a week at a gig that you just despise? And so during that time, I'm thinking to myself, it's like, is everybody as miserable as I am at their occupation?
Welcome to Take a Beat, a place where people share the stories behind their books, startups, business philosophies, adventures, and more. Today's episode is a conversation with Mike Wysocki, author of the book Careers by the People, candid career advice from 101 experienced professionals. As someone who felt unprepared for the realities of the working world, Mike fell into a job in tech sales where he experienced 30 years in what he describes was a grind that he didn't enjoy. In fact, he hated it, which is why he decided to find out if other people were as unhappy in their careers as he was, or if they enjoyed their work. So he sent questionnaires to 101 professionals, including mortgage brokers, pizza delivery drivers, CEOs, nurses, and more, asking them for their raw, unfiltered feedback on the realities of their jobs. He then compiled the answers into his book in an effort to help students and young people identify jobs that they would enjoy. Take a listen to hear how Mike went from frustrated and unfulfilled to passionate and excited about the work he now does, advocating for career readiness. Welcome, Mike. Thanks for coming on to talk about careers for the people and your own journey to writing this book and becoming essentially an advocate for helping young people identify careers that they will ideally enjoy. Your story sort of kicks off in the world of tech sales, where you were working for 30 years, but admittedly not loving it, in fact, maybe even hating it. Can you share a little bit about what that experience was like to paint the picture of where the idea for the book got started?
What happened was I came from I was a first generation low income student, and I wasn't a good high school student or college student. I'd never prepped for the workforce because I had no idea, because where I came from, everybody did a handful of jobs and careers. So if you wanted to go from the working class to the professional class, there's really no transition, no education back then. There is now. I mean, you can, if you can dig it out, you can find it. But the point was, after I got out of school, I just, started bouncing around Boston and working all these different gigs. And then I'm like, you know what? It wasn't going anywhere. So I said, I'll go move to Los Angeles, sell some screenplays, become a billionaire like I see on TV all the time. Obviously, that didn't happen. But I did end up in technology sales because I had some connections out in the LA area. And so I go into tech sales and I started, finding out that these people make a lot of money. And from there, I'll be like, okay, what can I do to get one of these money gigs? Because as we all know, money, is the root to all happiness, right? But the point is, I end up with one of those best jobs selling technology. It really paid well. So I hit it. I scored. And then I'm in it. And I'm like, this is no joy, no fun whatsoever. You're constantly chasing a number. Your quota is constantly increasing. And the amount of hours you're doing is just going and going and going. And because I didn't like technology, it didn't interest me. So I could have been selling, shoes. It doesn't matter. But the point was, I was in a sales gig and they kept on throwing money and pre-IPO options and all these things to keep you going, because money is great. But if you're unhappy, it builds up, so how I did it to control myself was regiment, not regime. Regime change. Regiment was, you wake up, it's, at the correct time every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday. It's so repetitive that you can do it over and over and over, and you know what to do. But of course you snap at management, because if they go, oh, we have to do it, you have to do an HR training. And so when management takes your time away for some foolish meeting, which they do a lot, then, it increases your stress to levels that are out of control. And so what I focused on was getting things done as much as possible, but making sure I hit the gym to burn it off. So I'm not out there in the world angry and miserable.
Yeah. And I guess out of curiosity, what was your breaking point for you, or what was the point at which you decided I'm going to go do something different?
Well, it was a couple in one company, and it was go, go, go. It was at the point where it's just like it was a 5-year gig. And from year like 2 to 5, I mean, it was intense. But the point was like it was time for a change. I wanted to do something else within the company. And then a new vice president came in and they didn't want to push me over to another territory. So I'm like, okay, I'll jump to another ship. I went to another ship and worked in that company, and it was all political. So I only lasted like a year and a half or so like that. And then I went to another company, which I lasted for a while in, and the products were great. It was just that it was constant change. So it didn't work out. I went through a lot of managers, and it just was tiring. And people going into sales have to understand it's just like you're going to lose your territories, and you could be working an opportunity for a year, and management could come in going, well, the Inland Empire is now taken away from you. It's given to Bob. And you're like, what about those deals that are going to close? They'll go, close them in 30 days. You can get credit. And I'm like, well, it's taken a year to get all these meetings done. It's like, it's not going to happen for another 6 months. Congratulations. You don't get anything. And it's things like that that people don't understand in the sales world.
But, like you got to know when to call them, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I did my career, and but here's the funny thing is, I put the same amount of, I put more effort and more time and labor into what I'm doing now. Payoff is terrible, but the joy is immense. And it's wild because some of my friends are retired. And I told them, I go, you know what? I want to see what it's like to actually work in an occupation that I enjoy. I go, I've never felt that. So yeah, so I'm doing it now. I mean, and it's great. I see that I can make a difference, and I'm trying my best. And I'm really going to try to figure out how to get this rolling.
Yeah, it does sound like a grind. And if you're not interested in what you're selling or in the hustle of it, it could become really exhausting.
Yeah, you can. So yeah, you're right. It's here. I'll give you another one. When I was in tech sales, people I grew up with, my friends when I was a kid who I still stay connected to, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, it's none of your concern what I do. I go,
Huh.
it's not illegal. So just take that out of your head first. And I go, there's no joy. And they go, come on, tell me. I go, it's tech sales. And then nobody knows about tech, right? And so it's just like, people would ask, but I would just do my best to skirt it and try to go into another subject. You flip it to sports or somebody's
Yeah.
family's issues, something like that. But whereas now, you could ask every single one of them, and there's not even a question mark. They'd be like, oh, he writes books on career readiness. He doesn't shut up about it. But I mean, it's good. I mean, and that's what I want to pass down to the younger people. If you can find a passion at an earlier age, so they checkbox that, and after that, maybe they, buy a nice, buy some nice real estate in a place they like. Checkbox that. If they want to get married, have kids, they can checkbox that. But at least it's a stepping stone to a career they enjoy. Or they do, get a nice dog or something like that. But think about it. I mean, when people that are married and they're with a spouse and they're miserable in their career, and it's gotta stress on the family, and then you get children that are stressed. So there's a lot of things that people have to think about. So if they can help them out with this one thing, I always say stay healthy too. But yeah, it's a pretty intense world out there.
So you decided no more tech sales and you wanted to go and do something else. And it sounds like you got this idea for your book, which interviewed folks in 101 different professions for the good, the bad, and the realistic of what the profession is actually like, to give readers what you call a candid view of what to expect from those different jobs. How did you start to execute that idea? Where did you find the people to interview?
So I took a few bucks. I hired like a consultant, we'll call him, or a web designer. And I go, hey, here's some questions I want to ask people out there. And I did. And I started bubbling the questions up, getting people at my former college at UMass to fill out questionnaires, and people at the alumni. And I went to people in associations, people that I knew in industry, and as many people as I could talk to about filling a career questionnaire out so I could find out what is it really like
Mm,
in the life of CEO, actuary, accountant. And the information, it's hard to come by out there.
yeah.
And the other thing too is I left off their last name so they could tell the truth. There's no blowback, and the person will give you some clear information. That's what happened. So yeah, I just did a lot of research and homework on that, and I started getting people to fill out career questionnaires. So that was a good part of the book. Yeah.
Were there any surprises that you found through the interview through these people who were responding, things that kind of blew your mind, or you just never would have thought of that?
Yeah, yeah. It was funny. There was a variety of answers to that. So, as expected, people like CEOs and the people that are higher up, chairman of the board type, their idea of them ever moving down a notch in their career, they're like, it's not going to happen. They go, you get to this level, and it's part, it's mostly ego.
Mhm.
And so that was a big thing that I'm like, I just thought that they could, bounce around, but no, they go, if you get to the promised land in business world, you can't move down. So that was interesting as well. Um, the other thing too is I noticed, which people always say about, but it rang true here too, we're the risk takers. Anybody starting up a small business, anybody being an entrepreneur, anybody doing something outside of the box, taking a risk, were the happier people. The people that were the most, a couple of things, it's two points to this one. The people that were the most miserable were the people that took the basic type jobs. I'll give you an example. This lady, because you have to understand is I have to edit these over and over and over to get out, terminology, clear them up, make sure they don't vulgarity. And there's one lady, I'm 99% sure she was like in Oregon. She was like a low-end clerk or something like that. She hated her job, hated her management. I mean, but after 3 or 4 edits, I'm still editing, crying, laughing. She was hysterical. She should have Saturday Night Live, if they were found, they should be writing for Saturday Night Live. She was, I mean, our stand-up comic. I'm like, oh my God, this is just, it's amazing. The other one too is, and this one here is, you got to talk to Freud about this one. I can't figure this one out. These people sit there and bash their occupation. And then when one of the final questions are, would you do the same occupation again? And they say, yes. And you're like, wait a sec. It's like if you got punched in the head like 5 times by opening that, the red door, would you do it again? And like, it's truly amazing.
Yeah.
So that one I think was the shockingest thing. It's like, would you do it again? It's like, yeah, sure. It's like, but it's bad. So anyway, but we all get personalities, issues, and problems from childhood that people bring through their life. So who knows, right? So.
Do you have any sense why, based on your research and what you are doing, do you have any idea why the risk takers tended to be the happiest?
Well, I think it's the risk and reward angle. That they went out there and they took a shot and they won. But the fact is, the other thing too is they don't fear failure and they're resilient.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that a lot just through life in general. And you see with these people in the book, and a lot of them will be in book 2 as the second book, goes over 102 new careers, it's risk and reward, but they don't fear failure as much as like average people. A lot of people, I mean, they fear failure in everything so much. Example, you could ask somebody, it's like, hey, where did you go last year on vacation? And I mean, pick out, like, I went to Sudan. And you're like, how was it? Oh, it was awesome. Because they don't want to see their decision as a failure. And it's some people, they can't handle it. Where the people that a risk and reward mentality, they're like, yeah, so what? I went to Sudan. It was terrible. I mean, I got out quickly and then I took a jaunt up to Spain, but it all, and you see that consistently throughout life, as well as throughout the book too, is these people like, you know what? I failed at a couple gigs, opportunities. And so I kept at it and I found one that really interested me and I did well at it, blah, blah, blah. But that's a recurring theme just in general. But a lot of people, they don't want to take risks. I mean, one example is simple is like, moving out of your hometown. A lot of people won't. They're like, they fear what's out there. And I always say to students, I go, give it a shot. If you want a gig in New York City, but there's a great opportunity for, your industry, which you can grow and experience a lot. And you got to move to Cleveland for 2 years. Go, don't even question it. Go for it.
Mhm.
You go in there and work hard and you do your best to learn as much as possible. And during downtime, you can do some things to help the community. You can go stay in shape a lot. There's a variety of things you can do to focus on your career. And that's all I talk about, is different angles and thoughts of how they can be successful in their career. So, but you do see it a lot, is the fear of failure. It hobbles a lot of people.
Well, I know another aspect of your book and your approach is the emphasis on candid feedback, that you wanted people to be really honest. What made that such an important element to you?
Because you really want to see what it's like. And people have no idea because people are always guessing. Oh, yeah, Bob's got a great job. Really? What does he do? Oh, he does, electrical engineering. Okay, why does he get a great job then? Well, electrical engineering is a good job. Yeah, no. I understand it is, but why does Bob? What did Bob say anything to you? No, so like you need to talk to Bob one on one. But people just guess it. They all think it's the weirdest thing.
I guess to that point, it can be very true. Do you have an idea why that might be? Is it because we're not being prepared enough? Is it because maybe we romanticize certain careers because of what we see in the media?
Yeah. I hate to attack the nuclear family, but the fact is 52% of students get their career insight from the family.
Mm.
So if the family is all in healthcare, what do they know about cybersecurity
Mhm.
other than reading a hot job list or reading some blog out there? They don't know anything clear and concise. They have an idea. Oh yeah, I've heard of, all these companies in cybersecurity, but they have no idea what's it like to be in that field. And I just think it's that way. People don't do a lot of career exploration first. The schools rarely teach career readiness. I mean, I go to a lot, I go after a lot of schools. When I talk to students that they go into school, I go make sure you take career readiness or career exploration classes. And then sometimes I can look at the college itself, see what courses they offer. And some of them don't even offer career exploration. So you're telling me a 17, 18, and 19-year-old person coming out of high school is going to go decide, oh yeah, I'm going to be an electrical engineer, and they're only doing it because their parents did it. I mean, don't you want to check out other things out there that might interest you? And there's people out there in industry that are giving some good information about career readiness, but it's very vague because people have no idea what's it like to be in a career unless they've done that career. And so if the schools aren't doing any career exploration, then where the students going to find out? The other thing too is one of the teachers that I connect with in the next book, he says his schools brings in a lot of the retirement community, which is great because those people, what's it like to be retired? X, Y, and Z. They're out of the game. They can talk the truth. It's one of those, I just think it's one of those subjects that it's 40 years of your life roughly. And Frank Parsons in 1908 wrote this. I mean, he's the OG, the godfather of vocation. And he was writing about this stuff in 1908. He said, other than the choice of a spouse, the most imperative decision of your life is your occupation. And that's just been ignored. I mean, so it really boils down to it's the person should take responsibility for themselves, but in education, if they're not pushing career or actually helping understand about career, then there's a problem. Career and technical education is out there in the schools, and I suggest everybody get involved with that. That is one of the best things we have going out right now. But as soon as you look in the college world, if your school doesn't have any career exploration, but you love that school, go hire a career coach. Read a bunch of books. Go watch my videos, and you'll see all these books you can read. I mean, you have to do your homework because if you choose poorly, you're going to wake up at 32, 42, 52 and be miserable. You don't want to do that. You want to get yourself ingrained and focus as young as possible so you can make a good, solid determination.
When you're going to schools to speak with students, what are some of the things that you're sharing or you're talking about?
A lot of things. I talk about myself, and students will ask, "Oh, are you a good student?" No. How many people are going to go up there and say they weren't a good student? I go, not only was I wasn't a good student in public high school, I go, I barely made it to college, and I barely made it through college. And I go, you know what? Because I had no idea, no understanding of what to do. And I was telling them, I go, college isn't required. If you want to go, great. But if you want to go into corporate America or the workforce or whatever, you have to understand is there's professional skills, soft skills I'm going to talk about. You have to do public speaking. If you don't, it's going to affect your net worth. If you can't write properly, it's going to affect your net worth. And I give them suggestions like on writing. I go on your resume and on LinkedIn to prove that you can write, get published anywhere. And I go, don't write a book like me. Get published in the local newspaper or a magazine of a subject that you're interested in. And I go, when you work with teams, I go, it's not your buddies. It's the polar opposite. So you're from big city, they're from small town. You're from East Coast, they're from the Midwest, or they're from Greenland for all you know. You know what I mean? So I try to give as much information to the students about that. When I was telling them, I go, I was expected to do much in life.
Yeah.
I go, but for some reason I was given this gift to be able to speak to you about this scenario. So how you can prepare yourself, because I didn't get that, or I was oblivious to those opportunities, or oblivious to people that were doing what I did. Actually, it's funny. As as I go through this process, and I do as much reading as possible. I mean, the book was out there in 71, Dickie Bowles with Parachute book, right? What color's your parachute? So technically, there was opportunity out there. I mean, Frank Parsons stuff, which was 1908, but nobody knew about Frank. But if I can get the message out and give them suggestions and ideas, and just explain to them, going, you can make it out. But on a more serious note, though, this question was asked to me, and this was the most shocking question that I would never have expected. So I'm speaking to a solid college in the New England area. So I'm out there speaking, and the students are really, getting into it, blah, blah, blah. At the end, I'm like, getting questions. Guy goes, hey, yeah, Wysocki, I got one for you. I'm like, shoot. He goes, educators, he goes, tell us to network. What does that even mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, whoa. Mm-hmm. So I've done a lot of videos to answer those questions, because that's why I enjoy speaking to the students. I have to remember who I'm speaking to, and they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And these students don't understand networking. I mean, I clearly explain to them what it is and ways to network when I speak to them, trade shows, professional associations, alumni networks, all of that stuff. So that was one of the, and also in that class, before the class started, this was shocking, because I know how much the school charges for an education, $160K for 4 years. So I'm ready to set up, blah, blah, blah. It's always a couple minutes. Students sit down, I talk to them, in the front row usually. And I'm like, hey, I go in what year are you? Senior. Okay, great. What are you studying? Accounting. And I'm like, I go check it out. On the trains in today, I read an article. We're really short on CPAs. I go, boom. When you get into accounting, start focusing, going to become a CPA. He goes, no way, CPA sucks. And I'm like, not CPA, accounting. And I'm like, you just spent, I know how much money it was to find out he didn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. It's awful. Some of the stories are awful, but again, it all boils down. Do your homework, do your homework, do your homework before you make a decision to go into said career.
Essentially, you're bridging the gap and showing the reality of what the working world can be like, which is a little bit of a mystery until you're in it. And school is structured very differently from work. You take the test, you pass with the grade, you go on to the next thing, whereas work is kind of forever, and it's not as cyclical, and expectations are different, which you don't always find out until you get there.
It's survival of the fittest. And the goal here is for you, our readers, is to get opportunities that you enjoy. Yeah. So, you're challenged, you make a few bucks, you have some fun, you learn, you move up, you move around, you're enjoying what you're doing instead of being miserable, 24/7. I go, it does. And that's the thing about it is because of their age, it's hard for them to comprehend how miserable it's going to be if they're in a field that they don't enjoy. I go, remember, just take it slower. You don't want to grow up too fast. I go, because it's going to hit you. And when it does, you can't go back. And they always just think it's just like, they go back to these top job lists. They see the income and they try to figure out, how much money they can make. But they don't understand. It's just like how much time and effort they put in there. And they're just a cog in the wheel, as they say. And so I always try to inform them, like, I go, you have to find something that you have some type of interest in, because if not, it's just every day is going to be the same. You're going to be the mouse on the wheel,
Yeah. Well, you have a second book as well that you've been working on and is going to be coming out soon. What is the second book going to focus on?
Okay. So the first book is me really complaining about what I should have done, correct? It's like, okay, so this is my view of how I should prepare for the real world. Mm-hmm. Book 2 is not about me. Book 2 is I reached out to college students throughout the country and asked them 30 plus questions how they are preparing for the workforce. Mm-hmm. Some of the students I met through speaking engagements. When I was speaking, I'm like, hey, I'm working on a second book. I want insight from college students. No Ivy League, pulled out the Ivies automatically. Everybody goes after them. I got some state schools up in the New England area, UMass and UNH. Then I go down south. I got two HBCUs in Alabama. Go Alabama football. I think they lost. So that probably not a good thing to say. Then you got Indiana, which is another football school, ironically. All good schools. But again, we're not talking, I don't think any of them hit top 50. So I asked them all these questions, and the responses on the books is going to be what the students have to say from the questions. And the second half of the book is the conclusion is going to be what does, educational organizations or people in educators say. So I'll give you an example. Was if I ask the questions to the students in the intro, in the conclusion, I'll say what NACE or higher education might respond with their data. But on the flip side of the 30 questions, half of them had no data. Okay. So all these people getting tons and tons of money to analyze what's going on in education. I mean, I've never asked about shadowing. What's the percentage of students that shadow in the career they're going into? Questions never been asked. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And so I go through each one of them. And I'll get the data from the students, but then I go back to educators and go, hey, in this question I asked the students, what are your responses? So it's not just my views and opinions, it's views and opinions of people in the educational industry. Also, I get some views and opinions with people in corporate America. And one of my buddies connected on LinkedIn, who's like a career coach, and I got a career coach in there too. So I tried to get as much feedback as possible on questions I couldn't find clear and concise data to, which was half the questions that I asked. So these questions, when the book comes out, it should do some damage, and hopefully it does. But it basically is it's a blueprint for anybody in high school, college, military, and or parents looking at the students saying, okay, hey, have you done an internship? No. Okay, since you can't get one, how about a summer job? What about part-time work? What about volunteering? Hey, have you shadowed somebody in that career? How many books have you read? You're going to be an accountant? How many books have you read about people in accounting? How many people have you spoke to in that industry? How many people have you spoke to that have left that industry? Have you been to a trade show? Have you talked to or even signed up to a professional association in that industry? I always tell the young people, I go, you want to be the new kid on the block? You want to be the next Elvis of your industry? Boom. When you find that out, go to a professional association. That is a gold mine nugget that is never talked about. And I always, the alumni network too. Yeah. And only 15% of schools have solid alumni networks. And that's a thing to look to too. As I tell the students, I go, when you're deciding on a school, I go find out what their alumni network is. Find out the statistics of how many career counselors there are per student. It's supposed to be 250. Some schools go to 450, 500, 1,000. That means little to no time. And some of the students complain about that. They're like, I try to connect with my career counselor. I can't get an appointment. And these are good schools that we spoke to, right? So there's so many caveats and angles. But I mean, I just sit there and I dig into it as much as possible. So the students and parents, guardians, educators who pick up this book are like, wow, these questions are pretty intense. And that's the goal. Anyway, it's something that interests me. And so this book 2 isn't about me. It sort of is in a sense, but it's really about them. But I do write some stories to try to analyze of why these thoughts permeated my head, what occurred. I try to bring in some history to add some comedy, because my books add a lot of comedy in them. I try to write jokes as well, because if you read some of the career readiness books, they're not they're not straddled with comedy, I'll tell you that, so I'm trying to take a dry a dry subject and make it fun.
Well, making it fun is always a plus. It sounds like you're doing important work by going out there and introducing these ideas and genuinely wanting to help young people start taking these steps so that they can find work that they enjoy. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add or mention that I haven't asked or gotten to that you think is important and you want to leave people with?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about it is my website is just like the name of my book, Careers by the People. And from there, you can see that I've done YouTube videos. And as of this time, I have 130 up there. And a lot of them are about the career issues, like we talked about earlier, like networking, LinkedIn. And it's usually me speaking in a nice area, usually Hawaii or wherever. And I give them suggestions and ideas that are, less than a minute long or something like that to inform them what's going on. So you get that. My book, if you can pick it up, great. It's on, the Amazons or whatever. But if money's tight, go to your local library and request it, saying, I want to read this book. Also, there's used books out there as well, I'm sure. So, you can do those. I get the blog I'm working on. You can check some of the blog stories too. And it's not written by AI, it's written by me. So I try to do my best, and I'm on a bunch of podcasts too, which is always a joy. But the other thing too is just like do as much research as possible. Again, get outside of the family. I mean, if you're in a tight family, I understand, but there's a big world out there, but it's a small world too. And you have to go out and speak to people in industry that you desire. If everybody in your family is in industry A and that doesn't interest you, you can't end up liking it. You have to go to find something that you enjoy. I tried to convince myself I liked technology, but it took 30 years and I still could care less. Does it help us connect? Yes. Can we do meetings like we're doing right now? Yes. Is it fun to be on your iPhone all day long and read about what's going on in the world? Oh, it's amazing. But it's not my world. So do your homework, do your reading, talk to as many people as you possibly can, and make good choices. So I'm wishing you the best with all your career exploration, your career choices.
Be sure to check out Mike's website, careersbythepeople.com, to learn more about his books, speaking engagements, and other resources. It's linked in the episode description. If you have a story that you want to share, reach out at email@takeapeekcoaching.com. Thanks for listening, and take care.